So hello everyone, welcome to our fifth video on Node.js, and in this video we'll be talking about how we can use our Firebase along with our Node.js application which we built in our earlier video. We used MongoDB. Instead of that, we'll be using Firebase to create basic create, read, write, delete operations. So let's begin. So first of all, I'll just open my text editor. So, okay, we need to come to our index.js. Okay, very first thing we need to do is let's initialize a Firebase project. For that, you need to search for Firebase and just go to firebase.google.com. Click on Get Started. Create a Firebase project. Let's call our project Node project, same as we had our database name earlier. You can put here anything you want. Let's click on Continue. Google Analytics, we don't want it right now. Let's create a project. It's gonna take a little while to complete. We have our project ready, so I'll click on continue and it will be opening up the console for us. So now we need to go to build and we'll be going to Firestore database. We have to create a database. I'll be going for the production mode only. Let's click on next. And you can choose any of the locations over here, regions, but you have to make sure that once you set your region, you can't change that for that particular database that you have created. So we'll just click United States would be fine. We'll click enable. Error occurred. Let's refresh this one and try again. Okay, we got our database created. When we refreshed it, we got it created. So we have our database over here. And the next thing we need to do is we'll be going to the settings and project settings, and we'll be going to service account, and we'll click on okay. It gave everything on its own. So we'll be building the SDK for Node.js. So we'll be selecting Node.js, and we have to also install a module called Firebase admin, and remaining thing it has already provided us. So we'll be creating on generate new private key. So it will download our key, and now let's place this key in our project directory. I'll copy this one, paste it here, and let's rename it to service key. That's fair enough. And we'll be going to our command prompt, and we'll be installing the module called Firebase admin. Oops, I thought I had this one copied in my clipboard. Right, npm I Firebase admin and go for next. Go for enter. So once I have the module installed, I'll just copy this code, and we'll be going to our index.js. Let's separate few things. Like this is our old Mongo thing we had in our index.js. So we'll just hit a few lines. We'll make a few lines of space and we'll paste it over here. And let's comment a line over here and say Firebase stuff that we can figure out easily at later. And we'll change this one to /, the service key.json. So once we have this one done, we'll call in the Firestore function. So we'll say constant, and we'll create the object for Firebase database as fbdb equal to admin.firestore. So this is our database object for the Firestore database. So now let's first run our app and check whether we are getting any errors or not. So we'll just go here and write node dot. Let's hit enter, and once our server is running, we'll go to our browser, open up a new tab and write local host 3000. Let's wait for it to load. And we have our old form that we created earlier. loaded, and this data is right now coming from MongoDB. So we need to change it to the Firestore database so that when we insert the data, it will go to the Firestore database and the data will be fetched from Firestore. And when we click delete, it will be deleted from the Firestore database in the same format. We'll be doing that. So we don't have any errors over here. We don't have either any errors or errors on the console. So let's go for the create data first. So what we'll be doing is we'll be coming down, we'll be copying this push data. Let's paste it over here and let's change it to FB push data for Firebase push data, and we'll be changing this one db to fbdb dot collection. Basically the few queries are same as the Mongo only, so we don't need to change much. We'll just change the db to fbdb so that the Mongo, instead of using Mongo, it will be using Firebase database object. So we'll be calling in the collection with the same name called user, and what we'll be doing, we'll be taking and pushing the data what we are getting into the Firestore database. So we'll be changing this insert one to add, and I think this will do the job. Let's change the push data over here to FB push data, and let's see what we get in the console and the Firestore database, whether we are getting any data over here. So let's restart the server once and refresh this one. And what I'll be doing, I'll be writing any dummy data abc@gmail.com. Let's hit anything randomly. Let's type any text and let's go to console over here and click on save data. So what we have here, okay, that was the old data that is coming from the Mongo, and we have a response called success. And let's check with our Firebase over here, and let's reload it to see whether it comes or not. Okay, we have a collection created called user and a document ID inside which we entered the data is over here. So now we have completed this creation of data in our Firebase with Node.js. So now let's go for the fetch of the data. So how we get the data to the Node.js from the Firestore database. So what we'll be doing for that, let's copy this get data and we'll pasting it here and changing the get data to FB get data so that we don't have the function name clashing. And collection, we are calling in the same collection, and we'll be changing this one find, and we'll be writing collection dot get. We'll be getting the collection from Firestore. And one more thing, we need to change this one also, the db to fbdb, so that it can query on Firebase database. Let's end this line. So what we'll be getting here is the snapshot of the database. So the resp is basically the snapshot. So we'll change it to snap snap, something like that. And we'll be processing the data in the same format what we had earlier, so that there were 3 fields called _ID, email, and text in an array format, and we'll be sending that to our client. So what we'll be doing over here, we'll be initializing the resp to an empty array, and then we'll be writing snap dot for each. We'll be writing the document in that snapshot. We'll write a resp dot push. We'll be pushing the data inside the resp array, and we'll be creating a data set like _ID, that is doc dot id, and providing a comma, we'll write email, that is doc dot data dot email, and we'll be writing text as doc dot data and text, like that way. I think this will be working. And next thing, we have our for each loop ended over here, and we'll be giving the callback as a response. So, and we'll be calling this one over here in our route to get data, the fb get data. So let's reload this one and check what we get. And we'll be restarting the server. We'll write node dot, and the server is up and running. So we'll come here to our localhost and we'll refresh this one. Let's see what we get. Okay, we have one data that is in our Firestore database over here. So what if we insert one more data? Let's check whether it is working in real time or not. So write a@b.c, something like that, and let's push in some dummy text like that. Click on save data, and we have another data over here, and let's refresh and check whether it exists. Okay, so we have two data over here that is coming from our two datas in the Firestore database. So now once we have done the creation and fetching of data, let's focus on our last part, that is the deletion of the data from the Firestore database. So for that, the same story, we'll copy the delete data, and let's paste it over here and change the delete data to fb delete data so that the function names are not same, and data ID will be needing. So, and one more thing, the buttons that exist over here is now populated with the database ID from the Firestore database. You can see over here, we have data ID as this one, and you can check the second button. We have different data IDs. It's matching from the document ID that we have over here. You can see JJLQ it starts with, and we have over here our first data JJLQ, something like that. So the query will be performed according to this data ID, that is the document ID over there. So let's continue what we were doing. So we'll go to fb delete data and db.collection users. Yes, we want to perform on that particular collection, and then we'll be removing this end part, and we'll be writing collection.doc, and we'll be providing the doc ID, that is the data ID dot delete. I think this should be working. Let's save it, and let's reload and check whether it is working or not. Before that, we need to terminate our server and restart once. So we'll go to our project and we'll reload it. Let's go to console and click on delete once. We got some error over here. Let's check why we are getting the error. The argument must be passed into 12 byte string in order to... Okay, I think I forgot to call this function over here in the route of that delete data. So we'll change it to fb delete data, and now let's start the server again. So we'll go here, and if we refresh this one, let's click on delete. Okay, we got an error again. Collection.doc is not a function. Okay. We need to change the DB to FBDB so that it can query the Firebase database, and not here. We have to change it over here in the FB delete data. So now I think everything's fine. It should be working. No more changes to be done. Let's start the server and reload it. Let's click on delete, and it will be working. We have only one data over here. So let's create a data. Let's save it. We have two data over here. Let's keep it side by side. So we'll be changing something over here and adding something over here, and we'll click on save. We have three data. Let's change something and something. We have four data. When we delete our data, we have got one document removed. When we delete our second document, we have our second document removed. Click on this one, it got removed. And when we click on the last one, the last document also gets removed. So this is how we can use the Firestore database with our Node.js for performing basic CRUD operations. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Do hit that like and subscribe button if you like the video. We'll hope to see you in the next one. Have a great time.